Church Road is down here, Barrett Drive is over here. The property is in an R40 district, and the building itself is 28,580 square feet, all of which is underground. The proposal is to use the top floor of this multi-story building for a school, to place parking on top of the school, and then to split off additional lots. 1, 2, 3 lots for residences, single-family homes, a 4th lot for a church, a small church. This is an R40 zoning district, which allows predominantly residences on 40,000 square foot parcels, but also allows, as of right, schools on parcels of this size, churches on parcels of this size. So there are no variances that are needed to allow the residences, or to allow the school, or to allow the church. We also don't need any variances for the size of the lots themselves. They all conform to the requirements of the village with respect to the lot area. We do need some variances, 4 variances in particular. We need variances for the number of parking spaces for the school and for the church. We are asking for fewer parking spaces than the zoning code requires. The reason for that is that for the school will be a private school. Students will not be permitted to drive to school. Typically, when you have a zoning for a school, you have to factor in the fact that some students will drive to school, and if they drive to school, you have to allow for parking spaces for them. Since the students are not going to be allowed to drive to school, and since it's a private school, we can enforce that very easily. We only need parking spaces for staff and for occasional visitors, and we have enough for that. There's a parking study that is in the file for the ZBA, that the ZBA has. Similarly, the church is going to be a small church with limited services, and the folks who will be arriving at the church will be arriving as families, 4 to 5 to 6 members to a car, and they have calculated that the number of parking spaces that they are asking for is sufficient for the number of congregants that will be attending the church. So those are 2 of the variances that we need. We're seeking a variance also to allow us to move this parking lot here for the church closer to this road. The reason we're doing that is because our neighbor back here, Mr. Costa, asked us to do that. And he said, you know, it really would be nice if you could slide this thing forward. And we said we'd be happy to try to do that if the Zoning Board of Appeals would allow us to. So that's the 3rd variance. The 4th variance goes back to the school. We are actually not adding any impervious surface to the school lot, this area that is defined as the school lot. But because we are splitting it up like this, the percentage of area exceeds what is allowed under the zoning code. It's actually, on a per square foot basis, we're actually decreasing it slightly. So it comes out to 30% versus 30.5%. It's a small difference. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're making a significant reduction here. It's approximately the same, but again, measured as of here. The total development coverage that we have on the lot is actually much lower than the total development coverage that would be allowed on the lot if we kept it all as a single lot. So we're really not adding a lot of development coverage. So those are the 4 variances that we're requesting. We've been before the planning board. We've reviewed the environmental impacts with the planning board. The planning board has gone through the secret process and has determined that there are no significant impacts as a result of what we're proposing to do here, or if there are any impacts, we're mitigating those impacts. So for example, there's detention and stormwater quality basin here. There's other mitigation measures such as screening, fencing, etc. that we're proposing that will help to mitigate the impact. What's important from the perspective of the zoning board is to take a look at the balance. What is the impact of what is proposed against the impact on the neighborhood itself? The neighborhood, as all of you know, I'm sure, is mostly residential. There are some smaller homes down over by Utopian Place, but mostly over here, oops, sorry, they're 40,000 square foot homes. The two houses that will be here on Church Road will be very similar in size and perhaps style to what was recently built on Stillo Place. The houses will be built and they'll be screening here such that you won't see anything that goes beyond here. And so what you'll see is two very nice homes on Church Road and a road that comes in. The church that's down here, you can see it, it's approximately the same size as the houses. It'll be a one-story affair, and it will look perhaps like a small chapel, perhaps like another residence, take your pick. But it's not going to be a huge church that's going to be in your face. It's way back tucked in here, and that's done on purpose because the folks who are members of this church want to be back there. They want their privacy. They don't want to be out front. The use of the building for parking, the roof of the building for parking, is one of the nicer features, I think, of this particular plan, because it does really minimize the impact of additional impervious surface. This building was built to withstand a nuclear attack. It's built. It's solid concrete, steel. You're not going to do anything to that building. It can very easily hold these parking spaces on top. And so that's why we took advantage of it. There'll be screening over here. There'll be screening all around. It will be something that will be very nice. Different? Yes. We all know that it's got a nice lawn there. We all like looking at that nice lawn. Unfortunately, that nice lawn will give way to these houses. But that's basically all you'll see is this house, some evergreens here, and this road. Mr. Chairman?
You don't have any elevation views of it. It's going to be...
There's nothing to see.
No, the plans that doesn't the church or anything like that?
The church, do you have... no, we don't. We don't. We did have a little bit of homework that the board gave us from the last time. You asked for the environmental assessment study, which was performed by the church. We've submitted that to you, the part 2. There are some tanks, some old oil tanks that were buried there. The study found that there was a tank that was buried some 20-something feet below the ground and may have a leak, but the study also said don't do anything about it, because it was so far down that nobody's going to come near it. There's no construction that's proposed anywhere near it. It's somewhere in this here, off the corner of the, I'm sorry. It's somewhere in this area over here.
No groundwater issues?
Nope.
What was it? Did they figure it out?
It was some oil.
Is it leaking or is it...
As I read the report, Dennis, I'm going to defer to you on this one. To further assess or remediate areas of environmental concern discussed in this investigation. The determination was based upon the client's risk tolerance in the following. A, the risk for direct human exposure to petroleum contamination is low, as there is an 18-foot earthen barrier between the ground surface and impacted soils. B, the risk of groundwater contamination is low, as a natural confining layer was encountered between 20 and 21 feet below grade, in other words, below the tank. C, high-power electric lines were discovered directly over and along the south and the east sides of the tank area. 2, based upon the intended future usage, institutional and/or engineering controls, e.g. no deep excavation or wells permitted in this zone, may be implemented to prevent human exposures to contaminated soils around the 25,000-gallon UST. UST stands for underground storage tank. 3, submit the findings of this investigation to Rockland County Department of Health and NYSDPC requesting spill closure. In other words, they're asking that the Rockland County Department of Health and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation close their files on this matter. And that just been advised that has been done. And 4, no further investigation of the former 15,000-gallon UST is warranted at this time. So there are two different tanks. So that's the conclusions of the EAS Part 2. With respect to that one tank that they say don't disturb, and they say make sure that you don't disturb it, we're fully prepared to put restrictions with respect to that to make sure that nobody can get down there.
Can we ask questions?
Not yet.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Emanuel, I'm just sitting here looking at this, and on your analytical location SP2, you come up with a 1,2,4 trimethyl and the New York State DEC recommendation 3,300. You got 3,200, and this was at a depth of 19 to 20 feet. Then you got naphthalene. Even though the limits of 13,000 parts, you got 1,700. But, and there's other things. You got, you know, benzoarachnase and benzopyrene and other chemicals down here in lesser significance. But you say, yes, by the soil borings, it isn't a problem going into the water table. However, it also states in the porosity of the soil, there could be lateral movement through here to the point where it's, you know, just because it's impervious down below doesn't mean it's encased in soil. And I have a problem because of kids being in the area. When you start having, you know, benzene and naphthalene in significant concentrations, and I don't care what kind of a burn you put there, that's my number one concern. Number two, is portable water derived from an on-site well. It's a 6-inch well casing, 320 feet below grade, into the upper Saddle River watershed. And this is approximately 60 feet northeast of the building. Now, where is this on the map in proximity to where the tank's supposed to be buried?
60 feet northeast would be in this area here. That well is being closed.
That will not be utilized.
It will not be utilized.
Was the water from that well tested?
Don't know. It's being closed. And with respect,
I know, but
it's a little beyond the scope of this hearing.
No, the safety of the children is not beyond the scope of
No.
this here.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and profess to know anything about any of that stuff. All I will tell you is that I have been told is that you have a licensed professional folks who prepared this report, made certain recommendations, which basically were that we really don't have to do much of anything, other than to ensure that nobody dig there. A request has been made for a spill closure to NYSDEC, and I'm advised that that spill closure was granted. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you one way or another what's in this report, what I might want to think of the report. All I know is that apparently it was satisfactory to NYSDEC and Rockland County Department of Health as their agent.
Well, I have a little problem since I was the original soil scientist that mapped that back in 1969. I walked that property. I had concerns back then, and since now being a grandfather, I have concerns for children. And this is why I'm bringing up points
I understand
that should be considered.
I understand that.
And if you go to the disclaimer for Phase 2 environmental site assessment put by the firm, it should be noted that additional chemical constituents not searched for during the current study might be present in soil and or groundwater at the subject property. That's called cover thy butt.
Yes, it is.
If you didn't put their nose to it, it still may be there, or they got tripped over it, but it wasn't part of the study. And my concern,
you can say that about any property, anywhere in this country, anywhere in the world. If you don't search for something, the possibility is that it might be there.
I agree, and I'm not arguing that point, except when you come up with an analysis on site of trimethylbenzene at 32 parts per billion, when the recommended limit is 3,300 parts per billion, and the presence of naphthalene in a soil that admittedly is not being able to transport the material vertically, but horizontally could be a problem. And even one test of near limits, especially if it's going to be a school, I have concerns about.
Fine. Your concerns are noted. There's nothing more I'm in a position to say about this.
Okay. Any other
questions, comments from the board?
The right of way with regard to the access from Church Road.
Yes.
Do you know what the pavement width that's required for it to be a municipal road?
It's a 24-foot.
I know what's shown, but
Yeah.
you know the requirement?
It meets the requirement. That was done at the request of the planning board, as a matter of fact.
And why does the map say it's a 40-foot right of way on and on the utilities?
Because there is one.
But you have the right of way, yes.
Yes. Well, what's going to happen is there's a small transmission tower that's going to be moved outside of the roadway.
It's going to be relocated,
Onto the island here.
and it would run from where to where?
Runs this way, and it continues to run that way. I think there's another tower somewhere. Is there another tower on the property? Dennis?
Yeah, there's one right here.
Okay.
So nothing near the building that would
No.
violate the high voltage proximity act.
No, and it's a little big transmission tower.
How high?
How high is that thing? It's a really old style trestle tower.
It's about 25 feet,
Not very high at all.
30 feet.
Sounds about right.
Any other comments from the board? Maybe a motion for the public hearing.
Chairman, I make a motion to open up the meeting to the public.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak or be heard with respect to this application? Okay, several. Let me just move left to right, okay? Gentlemen, right here.
How many students?
Wait, stand up, state your name and address for the record.
Anthony Bax, 84 South Airmont Road. I'm literally around the corner from here. How many students?
You just swear that you're going to give truthful testimony before the board.
I swear.
Oh, go ahead.
How many students they plan on having, the ages, and what kind of schools they're going to be?
It's going to be start off about 100 to 120 students initially, maximum enrollment of 150, K through 12.
Can you stand up and face the
I'm
crowd audience so we
sorry.
can hear?
My apologies.
Thank you.
What kind of school?
Approximately, to repeat what I said before for those who didn't hear. The initial enrollment is expected to be between 100 and 120, maximum enrollment of 150, K through 12.
Do any of the students be boarding there at all?
No,
What kind of school?
it's a private school.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Gentleman in the back in the gray sweater vest, state your name and address about your voice.
Kevin Fitzgerald, 1 Vermeer Court.
And is your testimony before the board going to be truthful?
It's a question, yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
It's a
That's what you're
truthful
saying, so
question.
I gotta make sure. Go ahead.
What's the anticipated capacity, first question is, what's the anticipated capacity of the church?
The church building itself.
In other words, where people go to sit when they go to church.
Okay.
I mean, is this a 100-person church, a 200-person church, 400-person church?
Maximum capacity is 150, but the usual attendance will be about 40 to 50. There will be occasional services where it will be larger.
And
Second.
services?
They have services, there will be regular Sunday morning services, which are attended by 40 to 50 people. Other services Monday evening, some Sunday afternoon and Friday evening services. Those are the larger services.
And from the explanation before about the parking lot on top of the school, is that to imply that the students will be underground during their schooling?
They will be in the building. There will be an atrium that will be cut in the roof to allow for light to come in. Also, the eastern wall of the building will be cut away to allow light to enter the building from there.
And
Yes.
is this, my understanding of the application is that the school will be in the
Underground.
underground structures that already exist. They're just gonna be cutting out the top of the building.
And is this a, there was another school in another area of the town of Bracco that made an application, and there was something about accreditation. Is this an accredited school?
Yes,
accredited by the state of New York?
yes.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, sitting right next to him, stand up, please, identify yourself,
Louis May, 11 Amanda Court.
and your testimony before the court will be truthful?
Truthful.
Yes, okay, go right ahead.
Well, first question is, do we know where these children are coming from?
The surrounding area. Some will be coming from as far as Stamford, Connecticut. Most will be from the area.
So if there's 150 of them, we're going to have a half dozen school buses rumbling down our streets. Is that correct? And roughly?
No.
No.
You know, I'm going
Why
to,
don't you,
if I can defer to Mr. Walker.
Mr. Walker, you appeared before the board last time, the application was heard, you're still under oath. Why don't you respond to this?
I'm sorry, who's
question?
speaking here?
I was asking, are we going to have a bunch of school buses?
No, the
going
answer is no. What we're planning to do is to have carpooling amongst the students that live in the Rockland County area, and then there will be 1 or 2 school buses coming from New Jersey. The number of students from Connecticut is not even enough to fill a school bus, so they'll be coming in private vehicle.
So we'll have 80 some odd vehicles going in and out of this thing on a daily basis.
No, that's not correct. The number of vehicles is fully enclosed in the traffic study, which you can see as Mr. Emanuel mentioned. We put everything in clear detail in that traffic report, which is fully available to the public.
A question about parking. What's to prevent a future administration of the school from changing their rules? And now we're going to have all of the older students driving themselves in.
That's something I can't, no, we don't have a crystal ball to look into that question. It's,
Similarly,
with all the,
by
Let him answer your question.
he said he doesn't know. Right.
how can I know?
Right, exactly. How can we
Our
know
school,
that in 4 years or 4 months there's going to be
the only way that would happen is if the building ownership changed. With our administration, that will never, that policy is the students do not drive to school. With our administration, and that is set in stone.
Don't you have another place in Long Island?
Yes. We have a school in New Jersey that we operate, we have a school in Long Island that we operate. The rules do not allow the students to drive to school.
Would you agree to a condition that we put on the variances that you're requesting that students not be allowed
Absolutely.
to drive to school?
Absolutely. Not a difficult.
Similarly, regarding the church, you said that we're going to have 4 to 6 people in every car that goes to services. Excuse me, I find that hard to believe.
Okay.
Not in America.
Okay, well,
Not what we see anywhere. And it may start that way until families spread out, and all of a sudden there'll be.
I've been going to church for 31 years, and I've always, every single time, go with my family. And there's members in this room that will attest to the same fact. I'm under oath, and what I'm saying is the truth. You may find it hard to believe, that's true. That's true.
How about on special events?
Special events, we
What
go as
happens
families.
then?
We go as families.
It is, I understand,
Part
an
of our
article of faith that they travel to services as a family and that they attend services as a family.
I'm very concerned about the parking situation, and as there's growth, as there always is, no matter how much carpooling there is, there'll be more and more vehicles on the streets, more and more vehicles not able to fit into the allocated parking areas. I think this is a concern.
They have to abide by the parking regulations that govern that neighborhood. If there's going to be overflow, they're going to be ticketed and towed. Let me come back to you because there's other people that have been waiting. Any other people that would like to be heard? Gentleman seated here in the blue shirt, stand up, identify yourself for the record.
Hi, I'm Rick Lutz, and I live at 6 Barrett Drive.
And you're going to give the truthful testimony?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
As you can see, I'm the second property on Barrett Drive going down right there on the left, so I'm going to be immediately behind or adjacent to that property. So some of my concerns may be just solely to me, so excuse me for that. But could you elaborate a little bit more on the screening and fencing that you referenced, and specifically the screening and fencing that would run between me and the property down behind me on Barrett Drive?
I'll let Mr. Rocks do that. He's the project engineer. He designed it.
Sure.
there is proposed a 6-foot wooden stockade fence that will run from this corner.
You
Down.
said last time, you were here last time, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you recognize you're still on the road?
Yes, sir. Okay, it'll run from the northeast corner to the southeast corner, and it will certainly run to this point here. We'd like it to continue on all the way here. However, at this point, that's where it would become part of the public right-of-way associated with the road, and that will be the planning board's jurisdiction, whether or not they let us continue that fence within the right-of-way. It is proposed, as well as evergreen screening.
So 6-foot high stockade fence.
Wooden stockade fence, correct.
Yeah, I'm just not sure how I feel about having a 6-foot high stockade fence right immediately behind my house, where right now I'm looking at trees and open space. So, I mean, in fact, you were so nice to come to my home, and the gentleman back here came to my house too, and were very amenable and very gracious in coming and explaining to me months ago what they were proposing to do, and I greatly appreciate that. And I'd just like to see if there's a little flexibility, and I sense that there would be.
Absolutely.
To an extent. I don't want to feel closed in and have that kind of feeling in
What are
my
you
property.
proposing an alternative?
Consider alternative. Yeah.
What do you have in a suggestion for an alternative? Are you looking for a tree, evergreen?
Well, I would rather have greenery than a 6-foot high wooden fence. That's just I don't want to speak for any of the neighbors here.
What kind of lighting are you going to have on that? Lighting? What kind of lighting are you going to have? How high will the lighting be?
Where are you talking about?
Along the right-of-way?
Within the road right-of-way, that will be your standard orange rock utility poles as approved by the planning board. And then within the
They're going to shine into his house, aren't they?
no,
They're more than 6 feet high, aren't they?
Well, you're kind of stealing my thunder, because that was
My
enough.
name is Robert Fletcher, and you want to ask me if I'm going to be truthful?
I just want to give me your address first, and then actually.
107 Smith Hill Road, approximately 2 or 3 blocks from the applicant.
Can you be truthful?
Is the answer going to be truthful?
Great.
Yes, I'll be truthful. Possibly because I got here late, I don't even know who we're talking about. The first question is, what's the name of the applicant? Second part
The
is,
name of the applicant is Pascack Valley School.
and what is that? Who is that?
That's the applicant.
This is a religious group?
Are you asking who owns the Pascack Valley School?
Well, what religious group is this? Is this a secret?
It's not a secret. The applicant is here. Would you like to?
Well, let the applicant answer. You're going to answer truthfully, like I asked truthfully.
We're a Christian organization.
Pardon me?
We are a Christian organization.
You have a name?
Yes, we're both brethren.
Okay. Second question is, I understand you moved from Long Island to relocate here.
I did.
Did you have problems in Long Island with the community?
No, other than
Truthful.
Long Island's very congested.
Be truthful.
I'm being truthful. I'm under oath,
Okay.
as I mentioned before.
Okay.
We had no problems in the community where we were. We built churches there for many years. We resided peacefully with our neighbors for many years. And I'm seeking to do the same in New City where I live. You are more than welcome to speak to my neighbors there and see if they have any difficulties with the way I live.
Okay, so the other part of the question is, if the zoning board tonight denied you any variances at all, what in your opinion is that you have by right? What can you do without a variance?
Well, that's fine. I don't think they need to answer it. In fact, actually, at the beginning, you weren't here. Mr. Emanuel went through things that they could do by right. They need to make the best use of the property. They're asking us for some variances to allow them to basically put up the individual homes. They wouldn't need to even be before us if it wasn't for that.
Okay, now,
Correct on that, Mr. Emanuel? And the parking. But the parking could be expanded if it wasn't for the fact that they wanted to have the lots of the home, correct?
I moved here in the early 1960s, and AT&T owned the property before that. However, that property was supposed to be used as a park and for the public use. Now, because AT&T has sold a property, does that negate that
As far as,
position?
you know, there's no regulation, there's no covenant that runs with the land, there's no rule that I'm aware of that says anything about that property.
You might want to
needing
check
be
into it.
used as a park.
You might want to check into the sale to AT&T, because the people on Utopia and Smithfield Road, Church Road, had a lot of questions at the time, and they were assured that that property would be used for public use, aside from the AT&T's activities. You might want to check it out. I understand you don't know the answer to that, so you might want to check it out.
Yeah, let me talk now. That's, I think, beyond the jurisdiction of this board. We don't make rulings with respect to the ability of the property owner to go outside of easements that may or may not run with their property. If that were the case, then they couldn't get a permit, and we don't issue those permits. All we can do is grant or deny the application that they present before us. Other legal headaches that they may have, those are Mr. Emanuel's headaches and not ours, and he can deal with them if they exist to the best of his ability. He's a very competent lawyer, and I'm sure he's thought through all those issues, but they're not really before us.
I'm not asking you to make a ruling. I'm asking you to look into it. The attorney probably would be best handling
Are
it.
you certain of anything? No. What the standard operating procedure is that the applicant enters into a contract with the seller for the purchase of the property. The purchaser's attorney orders title insurance. The title insurance company does a search of the county clerk's records. If anything like that came up, I doubt very much they would have given title insurance. Purchaser wouldn't have bought without title insurance. Did you represent the purchaser?
No, I did not.
Do you have copies of the title policy?
No, I
Can you
don't.
get a copy?
I don't.
You can get a-
But since it's a matter of public record, the purchase price for this property was $1.25 million, and I don't think anybody would spend $1.25 million without making sure that they would use the property for the use intended.
There are such things as covenants. I don't know that there is a covenant on his property, but I would like you to check it out.
All right,
That's fair enough.
okay?
Thank you very much.
Anybody else have any other comments or questions? This gentleman here, sitting here in the yellow shirt, stand up.
Barry Stengel, 102 Smithville Road.
Is your testimony going to be truthful?
My question is on a tax basis. I'm assuming that the school and church are going to be sort of tax exempt, or there'll be some kind of relief for them. How much of an impact is that going to have on the residents of the community?
Actually, this question has come up before, Mr. Chairman. We are currently current taxes on the property are $33,497 a year. We have checked out taxes on properties on Stella Drive, okay, which are similar in size, similar in style to the houses that are proposed. Those homes pay $20,000 to $22,000 a year in taxes. We're proposing 3. At the $20,000 level, that's $60,000. So we're actually going to be almost doubling the taxes as a result of this.
To make it quick, of these lots are taxed.
Jim?
Mr. Emanuel, where'd you come up with the estimated tax figure for each residential?
As I said, we actually checked with the town of Bracco receiver of taxes and got tax figures for 2 parcels on Stilla Drive, which are fairly new, similar size, similar type of house. They gave us the tax numbers for the school tax and for the town of Bracco tax. Frankly, I added on about $1,500 for the village tax because we didn't have that.
And additionally, that subdivision was built by average density, which means they're smaller lots. These are full 40,000 square foot lots, so you may actually be paying more in taxes.
Not me.
Assessed value, or that was the
Actual tax.
$20,000.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Surprised that
yes, sir.
is on are those homes just gonna be up for general sale?
Yes.
Or they're gonna be occupied?
They will be for sale to the general public.
Anybody can buy it, not necessarily people affiliated with the church, although I suspect that the people affiliated with the church may have a keen interest in purchasing closer than, say, Connecticut or Long Island. But that doesn't necessarily mean that those lots will be sold to people who are conscious. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The gentleman in the back of the blue shirt.
My name is Mark Chen, 6 Amanda Court.
Okay, and will your testimony be truthful?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I have a question regarding the amount of foot traffic. I know that there was an environmental impact assessment done, but we've been talking a lot about the parking and the vehicular traffic. To what extent will the creation of the church and the school increase the foot traffic?
You mean pedestrian traffic
Yes.
in the neighborhood?
Right.
It'll be negligible. Our
Okay.
members will be driving to church. Whoever may live nearby, there are a couple of members who live nearby, may choose to walk to church. Whether they're allowed to walk to church or not is a matter of freedom of this country.
Sure.
As a general rule, we drive our cars all week long from Monday through Saturday, Sunday through Saturday.
Is there, by
7
the
days a
way,
week.
he actually raises an interesting question. Are there any kind of footpaths or sidewalks that are proposed on this site? If there are, I don't see them.
Not at this point.
This is supposed to drop off.
My name is still Robert Fletcher. I still live at 107 Smith Hill Road.
You don't have to identify. You're still on the road. Just go ahead and ask.
And let me remind you that it's not your position to tell him not to answer my question. But at any rate, the gentleman before made the use of the term religious belief. I don't think he really meant belief. I think he meant religious activity. In Ramapo, we have very strange religious activities. Some are illegal. So I think it's a fair question to ask. Is there any unusual activity you have, marching through the streets with a crucifix or slaughtering lambs or anything like that?
In all fairness to the applicants, their religious practices and their beliefs are not proper material for this application. And I don't think it's fair for you to ask them. I'm certainly not going to require them to.
Why wouldn't they answer that? You answer it. What's the problem?
He doesn't have to, and it's offensive that you're asking it.
This is the United States of America, and whatever the beliefs are,
I don't care about a belief.
whatever the beliefs and activities are more than likely constitutionally protected. There is no room for this commentary in this court.
And if I could just
Whatsoever.
say again, and quite honestly, if anyone in this room has any question or issue or concern with them and their faith and their religion, then pick up the phone, call them, and they will come to your house and meet with you and answer your questions, and that's it. That's what I did, and
Join the church.
I mean, no, I didn't join the church. but there's an obvious undertone here that is right there in front of us here. And if you have any concerns, just call them and speak to them.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes. For the record, I just want to make it clear that I have no problem with the application. My problem is just granting large variances. And if they came in and presented the first plan where they don't need any variances, welcome to the neighborhood.
Can I speak to that?
He's not really asking a question, he's just making a point of the order. Well, thank you. Is there any other members of the public that wish to ask a question or comment on the application? Yes, sir.
My name's Don Straw. I live on Church Road. Tell the truth. My question, I know your decision concerning this congregation in and of itself, and you alleviate some of the problems by your no noise and not much traffic. My question is to the board is, if in the future they sell this place, I'm trying to think how to. Do you have the power to stop somebody from putting a daycare where there might be 150 parents being?
Okay.
The motion, I'll place before you continue the public.
for purposes of receiving the certifications from the EDC and Rockland County Board of Health with regard to the tanks. Anything else that came up?
Let me ask a question. The only thing I'm asking, those tanks are empty, they said, because we have a law in Rockland County with the water tanks that before you can sell, they have to be tested and certified for the next owner.
That's the full of sludge.
But they are empty, I'm saying. I don't know. I'm just saying it's empty.
For a well on a single family.
A well.
An existing single family home.
Enough.
I think that's as far as it goes. Let's date certain and time. You'll have it in by. Yeah, you got it.
Get it in almost immediately.
Yeah.
So I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right, just to make it clear, because the meeting was adjourned for a date certain and a time certain, there will not be an additional mailing sent out. So you're put on notice, and if anyone else was interested that didn't show tonight, please advise them of that.
Please repeat the time and date again.
November 13th, 8 p.m., 2008.
At this location.
You back here again?
Camille, are we back here?
We got this facility here for next.
Yes, we'll be back at this location.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind.